This episode is sponsored by Contentfy, a premium video editing and content repurposing service for busy content creators, influencers, brands, podcasters, YouTubers, and marketers. Contentfy provides unlimited end-to-end editing and repurposing services to help you get your video and audio content edited and repurposed quickly, easily, and reliably. Join other busy content creators, founders, brands, and marketers who now spend even more time creating while they take care of the rest. You no longer need to worry about spending hours editing anymore. Just create content, build your audience, and grow your business. If you're a content creator looking to save time and money, or looking to outsource your content marketing team, get your first free video edited now at contentfy.co. If you'd like to sponsor the SaaS District podcast or recommend any guests that you think would be valuable to be on the show, visit horizoncapital.com/SaaS-podcast today. Thanks again, folks. Hello, everyone. This is your host, Akil Jabbar, and welcome back to another episode of SaaS District. In today's episode, we'll be talking about Industry 4.0, the startup studio model, and building SaaS solutions for factories. Today, we have our guest, Renan Devillieres, joining us. Renan is the co-founder and CEO of OSS Ventures, a French firm focused on the creation of startups for manufacturers. After working as an economist at the OECD and co-founder of a startup in Brazil, he founded OSS Ventures to help manufacturers digitize their production sites. Renan is passionate about social and environmental changes, technology, and corporate strategy. He believes that the collective ability to deal with profound forces like climate change, technology, and modern corps will shape the future of us as humans. So welcome, Renan. Super excited to have you on the SaaS District.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So we'd just like to start off, a couple of words. Can you share personal background, past positions, past ventures, up until, launching OSS Ventures a couple of years ago?
Yeah, sure. So first thing to know about me is that I'm a nerd. I created several hackerspaces, which are very big on open source and code. I was coding things in my backyard. And that was back at the time where I was doing things for professional purpose, being very serious economic and diversity. And I was a totally different guy at night. And then I chose to kind of try to be one guy only. And so I created a tech company in Brazil, focused on social inequality and access to a first job. It was using machine learning to determine which kind of job people would be good at. And we were lucky enough to be invested in by Google Ventures, which was an awesome experience. And I discovered San Francisco and the tech scene. And I have to say, being a Frenchman and going to Rio and then discovering the SF tech scene was quite eye-opening. Like, these guys are not exactly on the same planet as me. Eye-opening level. The company went good. I sold my shares to my investors and co-founders. And I went back to France and I chose to launch a startup studio, which is called OSS Ventures.
Very cool. So you left Rio, went back to cold in Paris. Cool. So, for those in our audience, maybe they're not sure. Can you share a little bit, how does a startup studio model work with those entrepreneurs you work with? How are they being integrated into the business model, tested? And what kind of SaaS is kind of the industry adopting, if you can speak about that?
Yeah, better. So about the startup studio model, where some investment firms are seed or pre-seed, when you have just an idea, we invest in people pre-idea. So we choose people who want to become entrepreneurs but have no ideas. And we put a team at their disposal of coders and designers. And we go from no idea to having an idea to having a product that works in scale in 6 to 9 months. And launching a new venture costs around 400k euro. And that cost is for the startup studio. And in exchange for that, we take 20% of each new company that we are creating. Mm-hmm. And so there are numerous startup studios. One little known fact is that Snowflake is out from a startup studio. So pretty big success.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yes. And so on manufacturing and manufacturing 4.0, today factories have been putting machines everywhere for years and decades now, and they are lagging digital-wise, like 10 years behind, because there are super vendors such as SAP and the likes, Dassault System, and those guys are very good at machines. They are very good at big software out of the 80s, but they are not good at digital data, UX. They are not good at SaaS, basically. And so one fun fact is that, for example, SAP, each year they have 5% research and development budget cuts and 5% more merger and acquisition budgets to buy young SaaS startups.
So they're growing less through R&D and more through acquisitions. That's basically what you're saying. Yeah. Cool. Industry 4.0, what exactly is that? And I mean, it's kind of a new term now. I mean, people are speaking more about it recently. And why have you guys decided to invest specifically in this market versus, general SaaS or other industries?
Yeah, well, let me preface with something.
Sure.
Manufacturing is 20% of the world GDP. It's 30% of the world's workers, and it's 1% of VC money.
Wonder why?
There is hardware, and hardware doesn't scale, and people don't know about manufacturing, because to go to a manufacturing plant, you have to take your car and go to the countryside. And so the typical tech-enabled white guy is not aware that these places exist at all. And so you usually end up building things for people who are like you. And as the tech scene is not diverse enough and not local enough, they don't have it in their DNA to go to the factory. So that's the first thing. About Factory 4.0, the term Manufacturing 4.0, Factory 4.0 has been invented by the German. And basically the Germans said, we dominated the manufacturing scene by creating machines, selling them to the Chinese, and having a car industry that rocks. And then they said, yeah, but every product is becoming a software product, such as Tesla. Tesla is a computer on wheels. It's not a car. It's a computer on wheels. Mm-hmm. And every single product is getting digitized, and operations, by leveraging digitization, machine learning, by leveraging the enormous amount of data that exists in any factory, basically with code, you can enhance operations and enhance the final product. And the Germans, they say, fuck, we bad at that. And they invented the term 4.0 for basically the fact of putting software where there was only hardware in factories.
Wouldn't you say, though, like that industry specifically is maybe slower to adopt because they're kind of more old school? I imagine you come into them, you have to drive out, out in the farm, trying to present the case, and they're like, no, this is just, too different for us. We're happy with the way things are. I mean, is it kind of a longer process to educate them and trying to convince them, would you say?
So I wouldn't say that. No? What I would say is that there's a culture of technology, but of machine technology in factories. And so if you understand your customer, if you understand the way they think, then adoption is extremely fast. But you have to do the job of understanding the way they think and the way they manage their projects. So in their minds, you have to invest. They know how to invest. You have to get results. They know how to get results. But you also have to understand and be in control. The fact that you have to be in control of your software is deeply embedded in the factory mindset. In any given factory, the factory director understands each and every machine he's working with. So packaging an offer and saying, I'm adding with that, it doesn't work. You have to give them the control for them to make their tools. And so, for example, that's why no-code tools are very big in factories right now. Very big. Because it's a place where you have nerds who like organizing, who like tinkering with their systems. And so they need to have that kind of control to be able to adopt. And so adoption of full-blown software as a service, very little customization, very little parameterization is very low, very hard to penetrate. But there's very high penetration and fast sales cycle, 1 quarter maximum, for technology that fit in their thinking.
Got it. So how many companies have you guys invested in? So you mentioned, 400K, 20% of the cap table goes to OSS Ventures. Is it one entrepreneur, two co-founders that you're investing in? How are you paying them? Is that a salary towards them and then towards the team? Can you talk a little bit how that's broken down for those companies?
Yeah, and it's a fun process. So there are three parts in the process. The first process is that the OSS team is in factories 2 to 3 days a week. And we are always conducting user research on pain points. And then when a pain point is true in more than 70% of our factories, we say, there may be something there. When we say there may be something there, we go and hunt for 4 to 5 clients who say, I'm willing to pay for that. We haven't coded one line yet. We have just 4 to 5 factories saying, I'm willing to pay for that. Once we have that, we recruit funders. We recruit one technological founder and one non-technological founder, basically CTO, CEO. The way that we are doing the matching is according to some criteria that I can tell you about. And then we tell them, okay, we have those 10 possibilities of companies. And those 10, we have 4 to 5 customers for each of those. You pick your choice. And so they pick one and they start building. And when they start building, we have an extremely simple process, which is called the 2-10-12. For 2 weeks, we work together no matter what. At the end of 2 weeks, OSS can say, sorry guys, don't want to work with you. And the guys can say, sorry, don't want to work with you, OSS. And they go with the idea. After 10 weeks, we can do the same. And after 12 weeks, we invest in the company. So basically, that's how we created that. The sad statistic is that 35% of founders do not make it through the 2-10-12 process. And it's split heavily between this was not what I had in mind as a founder and OSS saying no.
And during that time period, are you just paying them? Where is that money going? Because you haven't invested the full amount until after 12 weeks. So during that time, is there any money being invested, or you're just talking to clients?
Actually, yes. The money is the money of my team, because roughly half of my costs are the team. So the coders and designer. When you start day one, you have a team of 4 to 5 people, full-time coder and designer, and they go with you and start iterating and creating process. So basically, you have a full-blown pre-series A team and 5 clients the first day you enter OSS. So that's half the cost. So we invest those costs upfront.
And what happens then? So you build, let's say, an MVP, you've built something, you're talking to clients, they agree to it, maybe they're ready to write a check. 10 weeks comes in and they're like, I'm out. Do you guys just say, hey, go to the clients and say, sorry, we abandoned this project? Or do you now go find somebody else who wants to take it over? Because that's kind of a weird position, right? You're stuck with this company you started.
So what's fun? What's fun is that we created what we call the early stage adopters. And the early stage adopters is, I was alone at the time, a little over 2 years ago, and I said to them, okay, look, you're going to let me enter your factory. I'm going to send designers and coders, and I'm going to co-create technological products with you, and you're going to pay nothing until it works. The downside for that is, 1, speed. I'm allowed to go to your factory the next day after asking. So 1, speed. And 2, sorry, it's going to be messy. Sometimes it's not going to work. Sometimes it's going to pivot. Sometimes founders are going to say no, but it's life. And so iterate with us. And so the factories, when I went to them, I said to them, I'm going to bring real tech people to the factories. And you're going to benefit from that, seeing them work, co-creating, and you're going to be early adopter, so you're going to have a discount, and you're going to have pain points solved. But the downside for that is you're going to have a kind of messy process, because that's how life is.
Sure, makes sense. And when it comes to kind of the fundraising, I mean, so I think you said you have around 8 companies now that have passed that 12-week stage and are kind of in process. Okay. Further down the line and the fundraising process, can you share any ways how you help the founder? Do you help them raise future rounds of capital? And if so, is there any best practices for, building those effective pitch decks, or how do you guys work at that point?
So first, I'm going to give you a first announcement. We are closing the fund to follow on next fundraising of the companies.
Got it.
We launched 9 companies, and out of the 9, 4 raised what could be considered as a Series A, 2 of which privately. Basically, the first thing that I tell founders is numbers don't lie. And numbers are your go-to bread and butter. For each SaaS that we are creating, we aim for very simple metrics. Positive net monthly recurring revenue per cohort, growing 15% quarter on quarter. Overall, 40% growth of revenue quarter on quarter. Less than 1% churn. Mm-hmm. And daily use divided by total potential users more than 50%. If you have that,
anybody will invest in that, yeah.
And so what we are doing, which is very particular, is that as an investment fund, as a startup studio, first day, we put the metrics and we say, those are the metrics you're looking for. And so we are going to iterate the product having those metrics in mind. That's like the golden metrics. And we say, basically, you can write those numbers of Notion and put a link, and you're going to have term sheet on the table. So that's the first part of the advice. The second part of the advice, of course, is to have a powerful vision, an opinion on what the world should be and what the organization should be. And for that, we have workshops and we select founders for a strong ability to execute and to have that kind of vision. But what I say, and this is something that I really learned in Silicon Valley, which is to be a real dreamer, you have to be really pragmatic and have excellent numbers. Mm-hmm. Because if you are just a dreamer and you don't have excellent numbers, it's not going to anywhere. Mm-hmm. After that, on the fundraising process, actually the European scene is very active fundraising-wise, and little sad to say, but given the current state of affairs, we have zero competition in our vertical of manufacturing products.
I imagine, yeah. So I guess, you have capital, you have idea, most important, I think, is the people. Do you have a framework or process you can share on how you decide, or filter out which entrepreneurs you'll invest and work with? Where are you getting them? Because you have the idea, is it their experience? Is it a specific background you're looking for? What have you kind of come down to, narrow down as good fits?
So I wish there was a pattern. And I wish it was science, because I'm a nerd and I love math.
Yeah.
And so far there is not. But we have themes and also ability to work with OSS. The obvious, I'm going to just say it straight away, but wicked smart, very hardworking, very upbeat with a strong drive and grit, determination. And then one consistent trait that we have among our best founders is that they learn at an astonishing speed. They are able to learn at a pace that is almost scary. And so what we say in OSS that we stole to another investor is we can invest in lines and not in dots. Mm-hmm. And so what's important is the line. And so our youngest founder is 22. Our oldest is 54. We have 35% women, which is not enough, but we are going to have more. We have 60% who are out of France and not having the French nationality. And so there's almost no pattern. But ability to learn is really, really, really important. And of course, you have to have grit, to be smart, to be hardworking, but ability to learn and have the humility to say, I'm going to do it anyways, and blah, 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 is really a trait that is extremely important. That's for the first part. The second part is, and that is very, very particular in our line of work, is that we are recruiting founders and putting them in pairs. And so the most common reason of splits of early founders is they cannot work together. And so we have a process where they talk about certain topics and they see how they work and they have a grid on how they work together and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, this alchemy is very, very strange. One of our best performing founder duo is a very unlikely. One guy is a surgeon and the other one is a guy who created a pastry company in Morocco. And basically, those are some of our best performing founders in a SaaS business. So really no pattern. And one thing that we are trying to really get away from is credentialism. Like
business school, Harvard, MBA, none of that. No?
Shit. Yeah. Nobody gives a damn about that. We are really trying to get away also for a very pragmatic reason. Is because people who are hitting a glass ceiling that they should not hit and come to OSS and outperform are part of our competitive advantage.
Interesting. So there's no way. I mean, so you said grit, hardworking, tenacity. They're interested. They want to learn. You can't really measure that, can you? I mean, up front, is there a way you're testing them out for figuring other than the 2-week period?
So yeah. We have cases. Cases that are supposed to test for that. For example, one of our cases is saying a product that you love, and then drilling down on that product and saying, okay, what are the unit economics? What do you think is the biggest challenge? Well, you are the product manager, the CEO of that company. What do you do? And trying to test for that. The reality is, I would say that the initial testing does about 30% of the job, but the 2, 10, 12 process does the rest of the job, because
makes sense.
We've all been there working with someone for 2 and then for 10 weeks. You know how it's going to be. Right? Uncertainty drops down to 0.
Interesting. So in terms of a little bit more on the operational side, so development, marketing, you have coders, you have designers. On the product management in the industry you're operating, you're going in, the guys are going in, they're trying to learn, they're talking to the people, they're trying to understand, trying to build things based on talking to people. What happens after that with the factories you're working with? Can you talk a little bit of how that goes after, let's say, the 12 weeks? You guys are ready, you're investing. Where are you guys allocating that capital and to really fuel growth?
So basically, after the 12 weeks, they stay in the studio, so in-house, until they get about 20K monthly recurring revenue. We think they are out of the water when they reach 20 to 50K monthly recurring revenue, because that is a milestone,
Yeah.
After that, you have a lot of issues, but early product market fit is not one. You have that in no churn. And so we get the team until then. We help them with recruiting, and generally they get out. And they either raise funds or bootstrap. One of the beauty of the startup studio system is that we don't give a damn if they raise or not, because as we are evergreen, our interest is strictly tied to that of the founders.
Makes sense. Yeah, I like that. Is there a specific market? Let's talk a little bit more specific that you're really bullish on. Let's say in the next 3 to 4 years, and maybe you would go all in, you'd bet all your kind of net worth or capital in, specifically when it comes to SaaS solutions for factories and manufacturers. And I'm saying this for maybe there's people in the audience who are maybe thinking about building something and they want some ideas or markets that they should explore.
First, if you want to build something, you may take time for to come to OSS. That's first. And second, to me, there are 3 markets and 3 verticals on which I'm extremely bullish. The first is cybersecurity. So basically, cybersecurity in legacy company level is extremely low, and everything that has been done in marketing in the last 10 to 15 years, you can create almost a copycat, and just take the market by storm. And just the overall budget just for IT cybersecurity in factories in Europe is $19 billion.
Wow.
Entirely trusted by consultants. That's nice markets.
Right.
And so you can name any cybersecurity offering that has been done for e-commerce in the last 10 years, and the copycat does not exist in manufacturing. So that's first. We're extremely bullish on that. So that's the first. Second is a data orchestration platform and data semantics platforms in factories. Basically, in factories, a typical factory is about $40 to $60 million investments.
Mm-hmm.
Of that, about 1 to 1.5 million is software. You have literally terabytes of data and no orchestration, no semantic layer to make them interoperable, and no data science to make it smart. So
makes sense.
So basically, this is a mongoose market.
That's all manually done by engineers right now, right? On spreadsheets.
Yes.
Yeah.
My favorite example of that is that one of my clients 2 weeks ago, he bought a new machine, 2.5 million euro. He loads new programming on that machine using a USB stick.
Wow.
So that's telling you about the market.
Okay.
So that's the second thing that I'm extremely bullish on.
Okay.
And the third vertical on which I'm extremely bullish is job-specific SaaS that take one function and just automate that and APIs that. So, for example, supply chain manager, they are doing the same work, same line of work, all day, every day. And there is no objective value to their work. It could be automated. And two, there is no improvement feedback loop, data backed. And so if you APIs that, you can literally make 10 to 15 basis point performance improvements.
So you're basically replacing jobs, is what you're saying. I mean, automation of the services. Yeah. Love it.
Well, UiPath, a European company, UiPath is doing just that, taking the almost no-code route. And there is the top route, creating job-specific SaaS.
Right. UiPath, right? You said? Yeah.
Yeah, UiPath.
Yeah, nice. Cool. This has been good, Renan. I want to kind of switch gears here. Let's go kind of more personal here, into the rapid fire questions. So looking back now, I mean, you built a startup, you've done a lot of, now you're helping a lot of entrepreneurs build their own kind of the businesses. What's one piece of advice you wish you had known and now would tell your 25-year-old self?
Never stay in a company or organization that say to you should not.
So they're not supporting you.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying here.
Yeah. And life is short. The sun better.
Love it. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges you're currently facing in order to continue, your own portfolio and investments, and meaning what keeps you up at night these days?
Well, two things. The first is Funders quality. What I said is I want in the next 2 years that some star product manager at Stripe level product manager says there's only one place that I want to launch a company at, and it's OSS Ventures. So that is what I want to do. And so to do that, we have to up the deal and make the deal sweeter and sweeter and sweeter for the startups and for the founders. It's really what we need to do. I think we can do it. So that's the first thing that's keeping me up at night. The second thing that's keeping me up at night is that we are currently using the secret sauce of cross-selling from existing startup to existing startup, as we are in the same vertical. And I think in the next 2 to 3 quarters, we should have as an objective to double the quarterly growth of all the startups just using cross-selling. And so organizing that, making it so that it sticks, that it makes incredible value, factory side, like as a side director, I think it has incredible value. Because this is sweet as a deal for a founder.
Definitely. Yeah. Cool. Renan, what would you say, who or what are some of the best 3 resources? I mean, this could be books, these can be people you follow, it could be mentors, who you'd say have been the most instrumental to your success over these last few years?
So not to be sweet, but Saster is pretty good.
Yeah. Jason's awesome. Yep.
Yeah, and books wise, I think 0 to 1 is a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a fan of the Lean Startup, but I think it's kind of getting a little old today on some aspects, but it's a good book to start. And a third one is, I would say, programs, notes, and notebook, like Y Combinator advice and everything. One thing that I'm consistently seeing is that in France and in Europe and in the world, I'm talking to Indian founders, I'm talking to Chinese founders, the Silicon Valley mindset and the Y Combinator ethos is going to the cloud. And I think it's much more important to internalize that mindset and understand what's at stake and how you behave when you have that kind of mission. And you can do it from anywhere in the world. It's a really interesting time we are living in, because you can do it from anywhere in the world, and you can do it with like $20 on your account, because everything is online now. Everything is in the cloud.
Right. No excuse not to do it now.
Yeah.
Renan, what does success mean to you today? Whether it's personally, financially, business, life? No right answer.
Yeah. Personally, I want to have an impact in the world and try to make my idea of what's right win. So that's particular. And for example, my idea of what's right is the brightest minds in our generation should be working on solving big issues like climate change, like fabricability, like CO2 capture, and a little less of optimizing advertisements. Like, it's been done, guys. Let's do something else. and every step that I can do in that and having the maximum impact that I can do on that, I feel like it's a good day and it's success. And I've been lucky enough to have some money. I'm really lucky because I'm married to my wife, who is awesome. And I think I'm very lucky in that. And now it's more of a responsibility to try to do my part, like shaping the world in what I think is the right direction regarding those enormous subjects. Just one stat. Today, factories and operational organizations account for 42% of all CO2 emissions. You go to a factory and you ask a very simple question. How many founders, startups talk to you this year? And the average answer is 2.1. And it's 5 times less than a marketing director.
Makes sense. Well, surprising, but makes sense.
Yeah, but it's a shame.
Underserved, lots of opportunity. That's what I hear.
Exactly.
Nice. Love it. Renan, where can our audience get in touch with you, learn more about you, OSS Ventures, and maybe if they want to apply to also be part of your program?
Sure. They should go to our website, OSS.Ventures, very, very particular. And they can reach us out on LinkedIn, on Medium. I'm also active on Twitter. And so please, and one thing maybe that I should be saying about that is, if you're not sure, you should start anyways. So if you're not sure you want to be a founder, send that email. Go to that coffee meeting. Like, do it. It's to lose.
You never know what will come out of it. Love it. This has been awesome, Renan. I appreciate you jumping on. Lots of good advice. And if you guys are interested, guys, please check out OSS.Ventures and give a shout out to Renan for joining today. Thank you so much, Renan.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you all for watching this episode and joining SaaS District today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for future episodes where we interview top leaders in the SaaS industry. If you're a SaaS company looking to grow and unlock the true value of your business, get in touch with us at Horizon Capital, and myself or one of our consultants will provide a free assessment to help you get there and hit your goals. If you have any feedback or suggestions for this podcast, please comment down below and help us improve our content for you all. Thanks again, and see you on the next one.